Player decisions shape gaming as a whole today. In Motion Enigma, we take that to new levels. What is Motion Enigma? Motion Enigma is an environmental puzzler that mixes strategy and knowledge together. Motion Enigma has the unique mechanic of changing the environment dynamically whenever the player moves. The main objective in Motion Enigma is to navigate the catacombs and search for relics before the time runs out. The player is prompted with many situations that will require them to think on their toes, so it is important to save every last second. For the main antagonizing forces in this game, there is the timer, the environment, stationary traps, and moving enemies. The stationary traps will include arrow traps, which will target the player within a certain range, bear traps to weaken and slow the player's movement, as well as pitfalls to make the player fall into different levels. Moving enemies will be based off of the player's movement. In this level, you can see that as the character moves, the doors indicated in light blue and navy blue switch between the two colors. The blue color tiles represent the opening and closing of the door, where the light blue tiles being open and the navy blue being closed. As the player moves, the red enemies move with him, so the moving has to be done with strategy. As the player passes through one of the doors, it switches its color to yellow. When the door is yellow, it will stay that way and cannot be opened or manipulated by the player further. The player has access to 4 different types of actions. The first action is movement. The player has full control of where to move, and it will change the world around you. A common strategy is using motion to corner other enemies behind locked doors or force them down specialized holes in the ground. The next decision available to the player is interactables. Interactables such as levers and pickaxes have special properties that can aid the player. The next decision available to the player is the use of perks with specialty tiles. These perks last only a short amount of time, so it is important to manage their time. The last decision available to the player is the use of items. Items are not reusable, so it is important to not waste them. There are 3 major types of movement for the character. The first one is normal movement, the next one is the climbing of ladders, and the last one is finally specialty tiles. An example would be ladders. It will be displayed with an icon like this. As you can see, the player moves towards the ladder, and when he gets to it, he can interact with it by pressing E. Other interactables such as levers and walls can be used by the player. Levers giving players invincibility for a short amount of time, while weak walls being able to be destroyed by pickaxes found in the tiles. There are several types of specialty tiles. There's the teleport, which allows players to teleport a short distance. The rotate map, which allows the player to turn the map sideways so they can have access to different areas. The lift tile, which allows them to randomly lift a tile up to trap players. Item tiles, which allow them to get items. And lastly, the weak tile, which can fall if the player steps on it. Motion Enigma is similar to common puzzle games, but its mechanic mainly resembles the flip-swap switches from Super Mario Galaxy. The difference between this system and the one in Galaxy is that in Galaxy the tiles would flop when the controllers were spun, but it did not change anything else. Motion Enigma aims to change the world based on the player's overall movement, which means that the player has to think before he acts. There are a few developmental risks when coming into a project of this magnitude. The lack of large-scale 2D projects that we've had to this point, a lot of complex world rebuilding, and the physics system not being as reliable for 2D games. There are a couple solutions to the problem, however. The first one being that I have worked on many side projects that were 2D based. This has broadened my knowledge over the 2D functionalities. For the world manipulation, this system that can be done on trigger events if not able to be done by vector check. The last thing is the physics system, which can be completely bypassed through coding events. Thank you for listening.